Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Today we are breaking down the top 3 best Elden Ring beginner builds to make you feel overpowered and unstoppable right away. This list includes the Bloodflame Samurai Build, which harnesses the power of the Bloodflame Blade to help you stack blood loss quickly and melt enemy health bars. We are also going to be breaking down the best early game Sorcerer build, which takes advantage of one of the best gravity spells and magic weapons to provide all the tools you need to eliminate any enemy that stands in your way. And last but certainly not least, the Holy Warrior build, which offers multiple sources of damage, including Dragon's Rot Breath, lightning spears, and flame sling, which unleashes a ball of raging fire towards your enemies. No matter which path you choose, each build will equip you with the best of the best items and will make you feel incredibly overpowered. The Bloodflame Samurai build is perfect for anyone that wants a hard-hitting, melee-focused build at the very start of the game. Your starting class will be the Samurai, which comes equipped with an Uji Katana and a bow, which is great since it provides a way for you to attack enemies from range. The main weapon you really want, though, is the Nagakiba, an alternate version of the Uji Katana which provides more damage and, most importantly, more range thanks to the extended length of the blade. Easily one of the best dexterity weapons in the entire game, especially when combined with the Bloodflame incantation, which coats your Nagakiba in blood to inflict massive amounts of blood loss on your enemies. Before you grab the Nagakiba, it's a good idea to head over to Fort Hate in Limgrave so you can kill the knight and obtain the Bloody Slash Ash of War. This is a really great Ash of War to add to your Uji Katana. You do lose health each time you activate it, but when used carefully with the right timing, it can deal a lot of damage. If you're interested in dual-wielding Uji Katanas, you can find another one at the Death-Touched Catacombs in northern Limgrave. Dual wielding is great because it provides more damage over time and stacks blood loss faster, since the Uji Katana already lets you stack blood loss with each consecutive hit. Before you grab the Nagakiba, you also want to grab the Impaling Thrust Ash of War for your Uji Katana in case you're not a fan of the damage taken with Bloody Slash. This Ash of War can be purchased from Bernal, the War Master in Western Limgrave, for 1,000 runes. This Ash of War is incredible because it deals a lot of posture damage to your enemies, opening up more opportunities for attacks and even critical strikes. The best early game talisman is definitely the Green Turtle Talisman, which boosts stamina recovery speed. This talisman is located on the far east side of Summon Water Village. Here you will find a set of stairs that can only be unlocked with a Stoneward Key. You can choose the Stoneward Key as one of your starting items when you're creating your character, or you can purchase one from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold. After that, you'll want to ride your horse all the way over to Caelid so you can grab 2 very important items for this build. The first item is the Flame Grant Me Strength incantation, which increases your physical and fire affinity attack power by 20% when active. This incantation can be found on a body behind Fort Gale in Caelid between 2 Flame Chariot enemies. You can easily just run in, grab it quickly, without having to worry about fighting any enemies in the process. The last item you want to grab in Caelid is the Double Slash Ash of War, which is going to be your primary skill for your Bloodflame Nagakiba. This Ash of War is obtained by finding and killing a Teardrop Scarab located in Celia, Town of Sorcery, in the central Caelid region. This area has several buildings for you to climb on top of with your horse, and once you reach one of the higher points, you can pull out your bow and shoot the Teardrop Scarab located on a large twisting root. After collecting these items, you'll feel more than ready to kill Yura, which is an NPC located at the Seaside Ruins, next to a fire in the underpass east of the Seaside Ruins site of Grace in Limgrave. After killing Yura the Hunter, he will drop the Nagakiba, which is the main weapon on this build. Now, the one downside to killing this NPC early is you're locked out of his questline and won't be able to replay it until New Game Plus. However, if you want an incredibly powerful sword early in the game, your best bet is to take him down as soon as possible. The Nagakiba requires 18 strength and 22 dexterity to wield, which means you'll need to level up quite a bit before unlocking the true potential of this build. One of the best farming spots for early game is right next to the Lenny's Rise Site of Grace in the far northeastern part of Caelid. Getting here is quite a journey, but it's manageable for sure, since you're just riding your horse straight there and grabbing Site of Graces on the way. For this farm, all you need to do is get on your horse, ride down the hill until you see a magical sphere appear. This is going to be your cue to immediately turn around to the right and head back to the Site of Grace. The sphere will fall off the edge while pursuing you, and it will give you nearly 2,000 runes in return. This is an extremely effective farming method which can average you roughly 4,000 runes every minute. You also have the Sleeping Dragon farming method in Caelid. The Sleeping Dragon is located northwest of the Fort Ferrith Site of Grace, which is east of Caelid. This is a location you can easily get to on your horse with a little bit of time, but it's well worth it since you gain nearly 90,000 runes after defeating it. For the method, you simply get behind the dragon and attack it repeatedly with your Uji Katana to stack bursts of blood loss. It does take quite a while to kill the dragon, but the time invested is well worth it. The last thing we have to do is get the Bloodflame Ash of War, which can be found from a scarab northwest of the Rose Church in Liurnia of the Lakes. Bloodflame Blade is a blood incantation that grants the user the ability to temporarily imbue their right-hand weapon in blood flame for 60 seconds. Attacking enemies with your weapon will deal fire damage and will cause the buildup of blood loss for a short period of time. Now that we have every item we need, let's break down the complete Bloodflame Samurai build. Around level 50, your highest stats will be Vigor and Dexterity. While leveling up, it's important to make sure you have at least 18 Strength and 22 Dexterity to wield the Nagakiba, 15 Faith so you can cast Flame Grant Me Strength, and 10 Arcane so you can cast Bloodflame Blade. My primary weapon on this build is a +9 Nagakiba with the double slash Ash of War using the Keen Affinity. You can see here nearly 250 attack power, B tier scaling for dexterity, and 45 blood loss buildup. This weapon does a lot of damage and provides enough range to keep you out of harm's way. In my left hand I have a longbow for ranged attacks, and a finger seal which you will need to cast your incantations. This finger seal is very cheap, and it can be purchased from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold. The two incantations you'll be using on this build is Flame Grant Me Strength, which increases your physical and fire affinity attack power by 20%, and Bloodflame Blade, which coats your weapon in blood, adds fire damage to your Nagakiba, and accelerates blood loss on enemies. For my gear, I'm using the starting Samurai class Land of Reeds armor, which provides decent enough defense for early game, and honestly it looks pretty cool. The first talisman I'm using is the Assassin's Crimson Dagger, which can be obtained from defeating the Black Knife Assassin boss found in the Death-Touched Catacombs, a dungeon on the east side of West Limgrave. And lastly, I have the Green Turtle Talisman, which boosts stamina recovery speed. Now that we went over the items, I present to you the Elden Ring Bloodflame Samurai Build. The next build on the list is the Gravity Sorcerer build, which harnesses the power of the Meteorite Staff to unleash devastating gravity spells against your enemies. For this build, you will choose the Astrologer as your starting class, and then slowly increase your power as you collect some very overpowered items for your Sorcerer early in the game. The very first item you want to grab is the Flail melee weapon that can be found in a chest at the back of the carriage in the gate front ruins in West Limgrave. The carriage is located on the south side of the ruins. This is the weapon you are going to use to kill the sleeping dragon later on, which gives you a massive amount of runes for leveling. After that, you'll need to grab the Green Turtle Talisman, which is one of the best early game talismans in Elden Ring. This talisman is located on the far east side of the Summon Water Village. Here you will find a set of stairs that can only be unlocked with the Stonesword Key. You can choose the Stonesword Key as one of your starting items when you're creating your character, or you can purchase one from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold. This talisman is great for an intelligence build because it boosts your stamina recovery speed, which allows you to cast spells faster. To gain access to some very powerful spells early, you'll need to grab a couple of scrolls in the open world. Fortunately, one of them is located in Limgrave and is very easy to find. From the Agiel Lake South site of Grace, head east where you will find a small camp full of enemies, including sorcerers that hit you from range using magic spells. Climb up the ruin furthest to the east, and right beside the sorcerer there should be a dead body containing the Royal House Scroll. This scroll will be given to an NPC named Selin, and will unlock some very powerful skills for this build, including the Carrion Slicer and the Glint Blade Phalanx. Sorceress Selin can be found in the Waypoint Ruins in Limgrave, in the basement below the ruins. You can access her room after defeating the Mad Pumpkinhead boss. This NPC is important because she sells you spells and will give you access to more spells later on when you give her more scrolls from the open world. Once you give her the Royal House Scroll, you'll be able to purchase the Carrion Slicer and Glint Blade Phalanx spells. The other scroll is located west of the lake-facing cliffs site of Grace in a graveyard with several skeletons. You'll give this scroll to Selin, and in exchange you'll be able to purchase the Swift Glintstone spell, which is the main range spell on this build. This spell has less range than the Glintstone Pebble, but it can be cast very quickly, staggering enemies in the process and allowing you to hit more targets in a shorter amount of time. Your next trip is going to take you to the eastern part of Caelid. This area contains some very powerful items for your character, and each of these items can be obtained easily. The first item we are going to grab is the Meteorite Staff, which is located near the Street of Sages ruins in Caelid. The Meteorite Staff is on a corpse hanging out of a tower window in the ruins. This staff has S tier scaling for intelligence, meaning you'll achieve the most amount of damage possible for your level, and it also boosts the damage of gravity spells. Rock Sling, which is one of the best early game gravity spells, can be found in this exact same location. You'll find this spell in a chest below ground in the Street of Sages ruins. Rock Sling is one of the primary spells on this build. It deals a lot of posture damage to enemies and opens up a lot of opportunities for critical strikes. This spell also tracks your targets, so your chances of missing are very low. After collecting these items, ride over to the Lenny's Rise site of Grace in the northeastern part of Caelid. Not only is this area a great early game farming spot for runes, you can also find a memory stone here, which will allow you to memorize more spells. Right behind Lenny's Rise, you'll see a wind jump. If you jump towards the tower, you should be able to reach the staircase on the outside. If you make your way to the top of Lenny's Rise, you'll find a chest, which contains a memory stone. An additional memory stone can also be purchased from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold, allowing you to memorize a total of 4 spells for early game. If you want to level up quick and easy, all you need to do for this farming method here is get on your horse, ride down the hill from the Lenny's Rise site of Grace until you see a magical sphere appear. This is going to be your cue to immediately turn around and head back to the site of Grace. The sphere will fall off the edge while pursuing you and will give you nearly 2,000 runes each time. This is a very effective early game farming method and can average you roughly 4,000 runes every minute. Once you get your dexterity to 18, you can wield the flail that you picked up earlier in Limgrave. The flail stacks blood loss over time, which is exactly what you need to kill the sleeping dragon next to Fort Ferrith in Caelid. This is a location you can get to on your horse with a little bit of time, but it's well worth it since you gain a ton of runes after killing the sleeping dragon. For the method, you simply get behind the dragon and attack it repeatedly with your flail to stack bursts of blood loss. It does take some time to kill the dragon, but the time invested is definitely worth it. Now, if you want a really cool outfit for your sorcerer, the Sage set is a complete set of attire that's found in the Stillwater Cave in southern Liurnia of the Lakes. This set includes the Sage Hood, Sage Robe, and Sage Trousers. The very last thing we need to grab for this build is the Carrion Knight's Sword, which is going to be your primary melee weapon for this build. This sword is found in Liurnia of the Lakes, inside of a chest in the back of a carriage, being pulled by 2 trolls on the northwest side of the lake. This sword comes with a powerful Ash of War called Carrion Grandeur, which transforms your blade into a magical greatsword and swings it down onto your enemies. It can also be charged to increase its power by up to 2 levels. This is a really great backup weapon for a sorcerer in case enemies get too close, and can be very deadly if timed correctly. Now that we have all of the items we need, let's break down the Gravity Sorcerer build. At level 50, your highest stats will be Vigor, Mind, and Intelligence. Vigor determines how much health you have, Mind increases your FP, allowing you to cast more spells, and Intelligence increases the damage of your spells and the damage of your intelligence scaling weapons. The melee weapon on this build is the Carrion Knight's Sword, which scales equally with strength, dexterity, and intelligence. This sword has a very powerful Ash of War that transforms your blade into a magical greatsword and completely destroys your enemies. The Ash of War can also be charged to increase its power by up to 2 levels. In my left hand, I have the Meteorite Staff, easily one of the best staffs in the game. S tier scaling for intelligence, giving you the most amount of damage possible, and also a damage boost to gravity spells. For this build, we have 4 spells. The first spell is the Swift Glintstone Shard, which is an alternate version of the Glintstone Pebble that has less range, but can be fired in quick succession, staggering enemies in the process. Next, we have the Glintblade Phalanx spell, which summons a group of blades around your character, and then automatically targets enemies that get too close. The Carrion Slicer is great for quick and deadly melee attacks, and will also stagger most enemies. And lastly, we have the best spell on the build, Rock Sling, which launches projectile rocks from the ground that deal a lot of damage to enemies. This spell will benefit from the Meteorite Staff's damage boost to gravity spells, making it the most powerful spell on your build. For the armor, we have the Sage set, which includes the Sage Hood, Sage Robe, and the Sage Trousers, the perfect outfit for a sorcerer. For talismans, I have the Green Turtle Talisman, which boosts stamina recovery speed, and the Crimson Amber Medallion, which raises maximum HP. Now that we went over every single item, I present to you the Elden Ring Gravity Sorcerer build. The last build on this list is the Holy Warrior build. This build combines the best early game incantations with a heavy hitting spear to provide you with an incredibly powerful faith-focused character. This build offers multiple sources of damage, including Dragon's Rot Breath, Lightning Spears, and Flame Sling, which unleashes a ball of raging fire towards your enemies. The very first item you want to grab is the Flail melee weapon that can be found in a chest at the back of the carriage in the Gate Front Ruins in West Limgrave. This is the weapon you are going to use to kill the sleeping dragon later on, which gives you a massive amount of runes to use for leveling. Next, we need to grab the best early game talisman, which is the Green Turtle Talisman, located on the far east side of the Summon Water Village. Here you will find a set of stairs that can only be unlocked with a Stonesword key. You can choose the Stonesword key as one of your starting items when you're creating your character, or you can purchase one from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold. This talisman boosts stamina recovery speed, allowing you to execute more attacks in a shorter amount of time. You also need to grab the Axe Talisman, which is located in the Mistwood Ruins in East Limgrave in a cellar guarded by a large rune bear. This talisman will increase the damage of your charged attacks, and it will make your melee weapon way more effective. Next, you will need to grab your primary weapon for the build, which is going to be the Tree Spear. This weapon is located in a chest in the back of a carriage in South Liurnia, far in the southeast, at the edge of a broken bridge towards Limgrave. You can easily get to this location by jumping down on the tombstones near the lake-facing cliff's Site of Grace. This weapon deals holy damage, has very high base damage, and comes with some amazing movesets to help you stagger enemies easily. After grabbing the Tree Spear, your next destination will be in Caelid. The first item you will grab here is the Flame Grant Me Strength incantation, which boosts your physical and fire affinity attack power by 20%. This incantation can be found on a body behind Fort Gale in Caelid between two Flame Chariot enemies. Now that you are in Caelid, now is the perfect time to level up your character so you can wield the Tree Spear and cast more incantations later. Your first stop should definitely be the Lenny's Rise Site of Grace on the northeastern part of Caelid. This is a great early game spot for farming runes, and you can also find a memory stone here, which will allow you to memorize more incantations. Right behind Lenny's Rise, you'll see a wind jump. If you jump towards the tower, you should be able to reach the staircase on the outside, and if you make your way to the top of Lenny's Rise, you will find a chest which contains a memory stone. You can also get a fourth memory stone, which you can purchase from the Twin Maiden Husks at the Round Table Hold, allowing you to memorize a total of 4 incantations for the build. After you level up your dexterity to 18 so you can wield the flail, your next stop is to kill the sleeping dragon next to Fort Ferrith in Caelid. This is a location you can easily get to on your horse with a little bit of time. Now for the method, you simply get behind the dragon and attack it repeatedly with your flail to stack bursts of blood loss. After defeating the dragon, you will be rewarded with a massive amount of runes that you can use for leveling, as well as a dragon heart, which you will need to purchase the Dragon's Rot Breath incantation. You will need to bring the Dragon Heart to the Cathedral of Dragon's Communion, which is located in the southwest part of Caelid, south of the main roadway that loops east. Here you will find a shrine where you can exchange your Dragon Heart for the Dragon's Rotten Breath incantation, one of the best incantations on the build thanks to its high burst damage and damage over time. There's 2 more items we need to grab here in order to complete this build. To unlock and purchase the Lightning Spear incantation from Brother Corrin at the Round Table Hold, you'll need to give him the Dragon's Cult Prayer Book. To get this book, you will have to defeat the Lindell Knight patrolling down the road south of the Artist's Shack in Liurnia of the Lakes. This isn't going to be a super easy fight, but if you spam the heavy attacks with the Tree Spear, you should have no problem defeating him. Once defeated, he will drop the Dragon Cultist Prayer Book, which you will then give to Brother Corrin at the Round Table Hold, so you can purchase the Lightning Spear incantation. Now that you have Flame Grant Me Strength and the Lightning Spear, the last incantation you will need is the Flame Sling, which is an incantation you can learn from the Fire Monk's Prayer Book. This prayer book is located on the main road, northwest of the Liurnia Lake Shore Site of Grace, just left of the southern tip of the region's massive lake. You'll find this book on a corpse under the tent on the left side of the camp. Now that you have the Tree Spear, 2 talismans, and 4 powerful incantations, let's fully break down the Elden Ring Holy Warrior build. Your highest stats around level 50 should be Vigor, Dexterity, and Faith. Just remember you need at least 15 Strength and 22 Dexterity to wield the Tree Spear, and at least 18 Faith and 12 Arcane to cast all 4 of your incantations. The primary weapon on this build is the Tree Spear. This weapon scales equally with strength, dexterity, and faith, deals both physical and holy damage, and it has the Sacred Order Ash of War, which gives you 10% extra holy damage, deals 100% extra damage to the undead, and prevents skeletons from reviving. In my left hand, I have the Finger Seal from the Prophet starting class, which is used to cast your incantations. The 4 incantations on this build includes Flame Grant Me Strength, which increases your physical and fire affinity attack power by 20%, Lightning Spear, which is your main range spell and also deals a lot of damage, Rotten Breath, which is incredible for damage over time, and lastly, Flame Sling, which hurls a raging ball of fire towards your enemies and is great for enemies weak against fire. The best early game talisman, which is the Green Turtle Talisman. You also need to grab the Axe Talisman. This talisman will increase the damage of your charged attacks, and it will make your melee weapon way more effective. Now that you have every item you need, I present to you the Elden Ring Holy Warrior build. Thank you all so much for watching this video and sticking around until the end. If you want to see some of the best Elden Ring builds for endgame, I have plenty of builds already on the channel. Big thank you for helping me reach over 1 million views on my top 3 Elden Ring Faith builds video. Shadow of the Erdtree is only a month away, and I think it's safe to say the hype level is extremely high for this DLC. I can't wait to explore new areas, fight new enemies, use new weapons, and create some new overpowered builds. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more Elden Ring content coming soon, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those bell notifications so you are notified every time I drop a new video.